Today we are going to start class 9's first chapter of biology, that is from your NCERT book, chapter number 15, Improvement in Food Resources. In this chapter we are going to read about the fundamental thing which is required for the living of all organisms, that is your food. Now food, if it is not sufficiently grown, as you know, India is second in terms of population, then there will be lot of people who will die because of hunger. It is not that the government did not try for increasing the crop production or increasing the amount of food grains, but the ratio of people growing with that of the land available for cultivation is not in equality in India. As India is highly populous, land is limited, so we have to think about improving the agricultural practices, or after the agriculture, what we can exactly do to store these food grains for such a high populous country.
To meet the food requirements, government has taken up the program of growing up of food right from the time of independence. You might have heard about Green Revolution. Along with Green Revolution, there had been many revolutions in our country, like White Revolution, Silver Revolution, for the availability of food to the highly populous country like ours. Before we go further deeper into, one must know what is a crop. When a single type of plant is grown on a large scale, that type of plant will be called as your crop. And this practice of growing crops over a large scale or large area or a large piece of land is called as your agriculture. Now, from 1960 to 2004, if you see that the crop production has increased almost 4 times what it used to be, with only 25% increase in the cultivable land. But this is yet not sufficient. So, the major group of activities for improving the crop yields has to be taken into consideration are crop variety improvement, crop production improvement, and crop protection management.
Different type of crops require different types of climatic conditions for their growth and development. Depending upon the season they grow, the crops can be broadly classified into Rabi crop and Kharif crop. The Kharif crops are the monsoon crops, where the Rabi crops are the one which grow in the winter. One common example of Kharif crop is paddy, whereas a common example of Rabi crop is your wheat. Now, as I was talking about the improvement in the food production, for that, the crop variety improvement, one of the common practices done for the crop variety improvement is a process which is called hybridization. Hybridization is such a process in which 2 different varieties of plants are crossed for getting a superior quality plant. That means the 2 parental characters which are required by us to be present in the crop which we want, that technique is called as your hybridization. So it is a crossing between 2 dissimilar plants. Now, as a result of hybridization, we get a crop of our desire. There are certain characteristics which are kept into our mind for doing this experiment of hybridization. Scientists are taking some common characters which are used for the process of hybridization. The first and the foremost important characteristic which is taken into consideration is your high yielding variety. If the yield is not high, the problem of food production will not be solved. The next is improved quality. There are cereals depending upon the kind of things which obtain from them. Like for example, from the rice and the wheat, we obtain the quality of the grain. That means the baking quality is important in case of your wheat. Proteins are important in case of your pulses. Oil quality in case of your oil seeds. So keeping all these qualities in mind when the hybridization experiment is done, so that also results into success. Other characteristics which are taken into consideration is biotic and abiotic resistance. Like for example, India, there is a variety of climatic changes if you go from the north towards the south. So there are certain places which are not having sufficient rainfall, so they are drought affected. There are certain places in which the soil is saline. So keeping all these characteristics in mind, which are the abiotic characters, so scientists are performing experiment to raise up the crops which are drought resistant, and then which are your heat resistant, cold resistant, frost resistant. So these are the things which are also kept into mind for doing the hybridization experiment. Change in maturity duration. If we can shorten the maturity duration, then in that case it is highly economical also, and also the infestation of the pests will be reduced. Change in the maturity duration. Now change in the maturity duration, if we take into consideration, that is also very important. The reason is because if you can reduce the maturity duration or increase the maturity duration, then you might have found that there are certain insects which are highly present in our environment during a certain period of time, which affects our crop badly. So we can overcome that problem. Wider adaptability. A crop should be in such a manner raised up that it can be grown in the states like Haryana and Punjab. That crop can be even grown in Madhya Pradesh. That crop can be even grown in Orissa, or it can be grown even in Andhra Pradesh. So if a crop is having a wider adaptability, in that case it is highly desirable. And the last but not the least, that is desirable agronomic characteristics. The desirable agronomic characteristics includes the dwarf plants. In case of the cereals, the reason is because if the crop plants are dwarf, in that case they will not be affected by the environmental stress like storm or like rainfall and all, and branching will be profuse. So branching, if it is profuse, then inflorescence will be profuse. If inflorescence is profuse, then definitely food production or the food grains will be more in that plant. So these are the characteristics which are kept into mind for doing the crop variety improvement. Next is your crop production management. Now for this crop production management, you have read it in class 8, the preparation of soil and all. I am not going for that. Let us straight away go to the nutrient management, which is very important for the plants, as the reason is because plants need the vital nutrients for their growth and development, without the presence of whom they will be showing certain kind of deficiency symptoms in them. In total, plants require 16 essential nutrients for their growth and development. But out of that, the 3 they can easily get it from the nature, that is carbon, hydrogen and oxygen. Besides this, there are 13 nutrients, out of which 6 are required in large quantities, which are called as your macronutrients, and 7 are those which are required in less quantities, called the micronutrients. Here you have a table 15.1 in your NCERT book, page number 206. This table indicates the nutrients which are required by the plants and which are obtained from air, water and the soil. The deficiency of these nutrients show the various kinds of physiological problems in the plant. As a result, their reproduction, their growth is affected, and they are subjected to various kinds of diseases.